Everyone ignored her at the gala, thinking she was just a nobody. But when the governor walked in, everything stopped. What happened next left the entire room speechless. Stay with us. You won't believe who she really was. Emily stood quietly at the corner of the gala hall. No one paid her any attention, not even a second glance. Dressed in a simple outfit, she blended into the background. People brushed past her, spilling drinks and not apologizing. She had helped decorate the venue, but got no credit. The guests laughed, chatted, and posed for pictures. Emily watched them all, her smile dim but polite. She was there for her father's recognition, or so she thought. But the program started, and his name wasn't even mentioned. Her heart sank, but she stayed seated, unnoticed. As the speeches began, Emily's eyes searched the stage. Where was her father, the man who dedicated years to this? He had built the community center from the ground up, but here they were, honoring others and skipping his name. She clenched her hands, trying not to show her sadness. People around her clapped for others, never for her dad. Not once did anyone ask who she was. Even the volunteers ignored her when she offered help. They assumed she was just someone's assistant or helper, but Emily held her head high, quietly observing. Emily's father, Harold Lawson, wasn't just anyone. He was a retired veteran, a teacher, and a builder. He started the shelter after a local tragedy struck. Year after year, he worked without recognition or pay. Emily helped him after school, organizing supplies and meals. He taught her humility, patience, and the value of service. But tonight, all that was forgotten by those in power. They gave awards to donors who wrote checks, not those who served. Emily felt the injustice boil quietly in her chest, but she said nothing. Not yet. Suddenly, cameras flashed as the governor entered the hall. Everyone turned their heads and straightened their posture. He was a man of presence, tall, composed, alert. Emily saw him but didn't react like the others. She remembered something her father once said. Real leaders walk with the humble before the proud. As the governor made his rounds, people followed like shadows. He greeted the mayor, the donors, the flashy guests. Then, unexpectedly, he looked straight at Emily and paused. She stood still, surprised by his direct gaze. The governor walked toward her, ignoring the crowd. A hush fell over the nearby guests watching this. Emily blinked, unsure of what was happening. He reached her, offered a hand, and smiled warmly. "You must be Harold Lawson's daughter," he said softly. Her heart skipped. "Yes, I'm Emily." He nodded. "I've been hoping to meet you." Whispers began spreading through the hall like wildfire. People stared, unsure how this unknown girl knew him, but Emily just stood there, stunned and humbled. The governor gestured toward the stage. "Your father is the reason I'm here tonight." Emily's eyes widened in shock and awe. "He changed my life when I was a boy." Harold had taken him in during hard times, fed him, gave him books, and taught him hope. Emily had never heard this story before. Now the entire room listened with bated breath. The light suddenly shifted as the spotlight turned, not toward a donor, but toward Harold Lawson. Harold entered the hall quietly from the side. Wearing his modest suit, he looked confused at first. The governor met him halfway and embraced him. "I've waited years to thank you properly," he said. Gasps filled the air as people finally recognized him. He wasn't just a helper, he was the foundation. Emily's chest swelled with pride, tears lining her eyes. People who had ignored her now whispered her name. The man they overlooked was now center stage, and beside him stood the daughter they'd dismissed. 8. The turn of the crowd. Suddenly, guests were eager to meet Emily. "Are you really Mr. Lawson's daughter?" they asked. Some tried to apologize for ignoring her earlier. Emily responded with grace, not bitterness or pride. She had learned too well from her father's example. Humility spoke louder than any speech tonight. She smiled, shook hands, and thanked them all. But her heart wasn't in the attention. It was with her dad. He stood on stage, finally seen for who he was, and he was looking only at her. The governor invited Emily to speak briefly. Nervous, she walked up, facing the large crowd. Her voice trembled at first, but then found rhythm. "I'm not a guest of honor," she began softly. "I'm the daughter of the man you forgot tonight." Gasps and lowered eyes filled the room instantly. "But I'm proud to be his daughter, always have been." She spoke of their work, the meals, the long nights. She ended by saying, "He never needed a stage. But tonight, I'm glad he finally has one." When she stepped down, the crowd rose to their feet. Applause thundered, louder than any moment before. People wiped tears, nodding in understanding and regret. The atmosphere had shifted, from shallow to soulful. The governor stood beside Harold, hand on his shoulder. "I came tonight because he believed in me once." And with that, he handed Harold a Medal of Honor, the highest civilian award in the state, long overdue. Cameras flashed, but Emily looked only at her father. His eyes glistened with pride, not for himself, but for her. That night changed everything for the Lawsons. No longer overlooked, they were now a name remembered. Reporters wanted interviews, and leaders wanted meetings, but Harold and Emily returned home quietly together. They spoke little, just sat on their porch in peace. Emily looked up and whispered, "He finally saw you." Harold replied, "He saw you too, Emmy." That matters more. Fame didn't change them. Their roots stayed deep, because they never worked for applause or headlines. They worked for hearts, and tonight they reached many. Emily found her own light after that night. She began running the center in her father's name. People now came to help, not just to be seen. They asked for Emily's opinion, guidance, and wisdom. She led with quiet power, never seeking the spotlight. And when asked about that gala, she always smiled. "It wasn't the crowd that mattered," she'd say. "It was the moment I realized my worth." No title or applause could give her more than that, because respect, once earned truly, lasts forever. The governor later published an open letter. In it, he detailed how Harold saved his future. He'd been a runaway teen, angry and homeless. Harold gave him books, discipline, and hope. "He believed in me when no one else did." The letter ended with powerful words. "I am governor today because of Harold Lawson." Emily framed the letter and hung it at the shelter, not for show, but to remind others what's possible. That greatness often wears humble clothes. Years later, people still told that gala story. Young girls visited the shelter, inspired by Emily's grace. She mentored them, taught them strength through service. No fame, just real transformation, one heart at a time. Harold passed quietly, his legacy cemented in lives touched. At his memorial, the governor spoke with tears. "He didn't build buildings, he built people," he said. Emily took the torch fully in her hands. She promised to carry it with dignity and love, and she did, every single day. Emily never sought titles but earned respect. She became a quiet leader in her state, no longer overlooked, now deeply valued, not for flash but for faithfulness and heart. People whispered about her with admiration and awe. They remembered the girl once ignored at the gala. Now they saw the woman who moved governors, the one who stood tall with humility and truth. Because sometimes the most powerful people are the ones who never needed to prove anything.